You, I just can't hear you guys when you talk like to each other. It's,
Okay. Yeah, it's good to get that feedback.
yeah.
Well, let me know when you're ready to start, Trish.
We're recording it. We're good to go, Bill.
Okay.
Getting back from the last.
I'd like to
2 months,
convene
and
the
there was an
February.
We're starting.
I'd like to convene the February 26, 2024 meeting of the Complete Streets Committee, Niskuna Complete Streets Committee. We're meeting in the Schaefer Room at Town Hall. Is Laura going to be able to join us today, or probably not?
So
No? Okay. Well, let's do the roll quickly. Tess Healy, I see. How are you today, Tess? Thank you for joining us.
Great, how are you, Bill?
I'm good. Carla Dougal, I see also. Thank you, Carla. I'm here, William Chapman. I received a message from Ben O'Shea. He has a rehearsal at school today as part of his regular job work, and he won't be able to make the meeting. Jim Levy is here. Hello, Jim. How are you today? Andrew Millspaugh is joining us remotely. How are you, Andrew?
Yep,
good to see you.
Hi.
Catherine Kuzman is in the Schaefer Room. How are you, Catherine? Ben O'Shea is excused. Avi Barr, Percy Davis, and another student representative, James Leon. Any of these folks tuned in yet? Okay. We are also joined by our Deputy Town Planner, Clark Henry. How are you, Clark? Thank you for joining us. And we have a couple folks that may join us for a privilege of the floor. I see Eileen Friedman is here. Hello, Eileen. How are you? And I see Roberta Miller and her husband David also. Okay. So that's the roll call. Privilege of the floor is now open. If there is anyone who would like to speak to the Complete Streets Committee, you're welcome to do so, certainly on Complete Streets Matters. And, we have a pretty busy agenda, so, we can't take too much time on the public comment, but, you do get a chance to meet us. And if you have a thought you want to share with us about something we need to pay attention to, we'd be happy to hear you. And so if you just give your name and street address, that would be great. So any speakers for privilege of the floor?
Roberta Miller.
Okay, Roberta, go ahead.
16 Crimson Oak Court.
Okay.
So I believe all of you received the letter from the Crimson Oak Van Antwerp Street Neighborhood Coalition. We had a meeting on the 10th of February, and the meeting was for multiple reasons, not only the accident that occurred on February the 2nd. We have noticed increasing difficulty and danger crossing Van Antwerp Road or trying to cross River Road in order to get on the bike path or to go to work. Increasing driving, people who are driving erratically around the GE Circle and down Van Antwerp. And just today, as I was driving, I was going north on Van Antwerp, past the four-way stop sign. And between the four-way stop sign and Crimson Oak Court, I was intentionally going at 30 miles an hour, watching the other cars, and a truck passed me over the line and went past me at an excessive speed. And I couldn't even get his license plate because he went so fast he was around the circle by the time I could get a look.
Okay.
So we're very, very concerned. We don't have any further report from the police regarding the circumstances of the horrendous crash on February the 2nd. And the neighbors all came together and had very good ideas about what could possibly but we thought that, it's really up to the engineers and what's available monetary wise to do these, to make these ideas come to fruition. It's not up to us, but we did have ideas.
Okay. Anyone else from Van Antwerp or Crimson Court that would like to speak?
Hi, this is Eileen Friedman. I'm at 2200 Van Antwerp, and I'm just here for support of what Roberta said, just in agreement with everything that she said. And we like to walk on Van Antwerp to get to the town hall and stuff like that, and to the library and the co-op, and it's just increasingly not safe. And like Roberta said, someone passed her. I've had that happen to me as well on that road as I'm trying to pull into my driveway. People get really angry and start honking because they have to speed up to get to that circle. So yeah, just in support of that. Thank you.
Okay. Any other speakers?
Well, it's David Hornick, and I just want to support Roberta's comments. We've been living here for 30 years, and the conditions that led to the destruction of, I believe, 3 telephone poles by the driver on the 2nd of February need to be remediated. It's just gotten to the point where we have children who have to get to school, and some of them actually do walk on occasion, and there's just no safe way to get to either Craig or to Van Antwerp if you live anywhere along the area that we're talking about. So we want to make it safe for everybody, but certainly for children and also older people as well. And I can definitely represent that group.
Okay. Well, you've got a couple folks with some gray hair out here too, David. So resonate to that. Thank you. Linda, are you here to speak, or are you just listening in to comments today? Or if you would like to speak, this is privilege of the floor is open if you have a quick comment. You have to undo the mute so we can hear you.
How's that?
Okay, go ahead.
I also live on Crimson Oak Court. So I just wanted to lend my voice to the concerns that were addressed both in letter and probably previously by Roberta and David just now. I'm a frequent walker and always have been in the neighborhood. It was one of the things that attracted me to Niskayuna. And I really think that there's been a change in the character of use on Van Antwerp and Crimson Oak Court. Not Crimson Oak Court, but Van Antwerp and the Circle. It's being used as a thoroughfare. And it is absolutely unsafe for pedestrians to be on the shoulder of the road or crossing the circle over to the bike path.
Okay.
I have an additional comment that I'd like to make also. That it's not obvious to people who are unfamiliar with that area when they're driving. It's not obvious what the issues are that relate to the circle, where you're which lane you're supposed to use, and it would be easy enough to provide some instruction on a street sign or two. Stay right, accept the pass or whatever. But some instruction has to be given to people who aren't familiar with the area or the problems that we're discussing today.
Okay.
In particular, the concern that I have had is I always cross the circle to the bike path from Van Antwerp on the southeast corner, because at least that way I have visibility in all directions, and I can cross halfway to the median and then continue when it's safe to go the rest of the way. And there is predominantly from the traffic leaving Van Antwerp and then entering the circle and then immediately getting off again, the yield sign is barely functional. I was just out there for a span of 20 minutes and I must have photographed at least 10 cars going over the white line on the side of the road, barely slowing down. I didn't do video, I just do pictures. So I have pictures of wheels over the white line. I hope what I did was all right. It was certainly not my intent to photograph any individual or to cast light on anybody's driving, just to cast light on the fact that walking on that shoulder, on that part of the road is not safe. So I don't know how expensive rumble strips are, but that has always been on my wish list, just to
Okay.
alert people that they are, going over beyond their lane of the road.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
I just also wonder, I mean, it seems definitely over the past 2 years, but people are passing on River Road where it's, there's no passing. And now people are passing on Van Antwerp. But there's definitely no passing. And the road, the cars are getting bigger. So even when you turn out of Crimson Oak Court onto Van Antwerp going either way, because the road is so narrow, many times the cars coming towards you are over the line.
Overline in the sense that they're over the traffic line onto the shoulder on
No, over the other way. So if you're
Okay.
passing them, you have to move all the way over also.
Okay. Okay. Well, I do want to thank the work that you've done in putting your remarks into a written form and sending that to the town supervisor and also to our county elected officials and to folks on Complete Streets. Everyone has gotten a copy of that, and also the pictures and the video footage that you captured. I sent that this morning so people can take a look at it. And I did get the email from the town supervisor's office that they have received that message and that they're working on setting up a get-together with town and county officials so that you'll have an opportunity to say more in more detail and more extensively about the remarks that you had in your letter to us, to a meeting that's specifically about this. And I do, I mean, there are a number of things that you do mention, certainly speed of cars and, the exit of cars onto Van Antwerp Road. And, also just really kind of what a hazard it has become for pedestrians and bicyclists, if there are some, and that really there's quite a volume of folks that are using that strip of road to get to work at GE or get to school. And Jessica Krakowski has mentioned she lives just south of Knott Street East on Van Antwerp, and even pedestrians that are south of Knott Street East. The road is curvy and fast and not a lot of shoulder. So even folks that are walking that want to get up to Knott Street East to be able to walk to the post office or town hall or to the school, that they face some of the same issues. And I know that the PD and other folks are looking at it. I mean, I certainly would hope they would put out some speed and traffic volume counters so we would get to know, well, what is the volume of cars coming on Van Antwerp off of the roundabout, how fast and what the volume is, and also, perhaps the of those over the 85th percentile, well, what speed are they going at to try to verify some of the thoughts about vehicle speed going up. And then, I mean, I don't know, the Complete Streets Committee have on some other intersections gone out and each taken a turn sitting for an hour or so and just trying to collect data over a 3 or 4 hour period to record some of the instances, as you mentioned, of going over the shoulder, or even here are pedestrians trying to cross River Road there to get from one side to the other. And does it appear that they had a struggle to do that? And also you mentioned wildlife. I was wondering, is that like rabbits or dogs, or what kind of wildlife? I mean, it sort of sounded like, is it a hazard to wildlife, or is it a hazard to motorists that may see dogs or other folks where they're having to veer around those folks? And so, I mean, it's possible we may want to think about a data collection effort where, we have some standardized things that we want to look at. Maybe there are even some volunteers on Van Antwerp Road or Crimson Court that would be willing to, to take a look at some of those things and see what's going on. So
I can give you a little bit of background about that. When I say wildlife on River Road, I'm worried about deer. I drive to and from work around the circle and River Road over towards Rosendale, and I'm frequently coming home at dusk. I probably a half a dozen times I have slowed down because I saw a deer on the shoulder of the road, because I know enough to look for them, and worried about being hit from behind because of it. The other day I stopped because there was a buck on the shoulder of the road and a female deer about 3 feet behind him, and he couldn't decide what to do, cross or not. And I was like, yeah, as soon as I go, he's going to make a decision. So I sat there, stopped on the road, praying to God nobody was going to hit me. He crossed, the female crossed, and then coming up like a minute, like I looked to the right where they came from, there's 6 more following.
Okay.
That's a long time to be sitting there stopped on a road that people are just trying to get home from work. And they're driving faster than the speed limit.
Well, we do have to keep moving, so I do thank you for sending the information and the photos and your comments today. And I do believe that our town and county officials are going to be getting in touch to set up a meeting. And we're working on Chapter 7 of the town master plan, and we do have goals that we're setting for complete streets on priorities that we'd like to see, and certainly improvement to all our county roads. Having a side path or a sidewalk so people can get around them is one of our priorities in complete streets for the town. And a lot of county roads are older. They were wagon roads and whatever, and the right of way on most of them is only 40 feet or so. So there's not a lot of space past 20 feet from the middle of the road for the county to be able to do things without having to acquire property to do that. So that's a little bit of a struggle, but we're happy to have citizens, and you're really the driving force with getting the county and the town to look at things. And one of the things that we've tried to encourage our elected officials, and they've actually been pretty good, is to see money that goes to the town tax allocation or the county is transportation dollars. It's not all just highway dollars. It's transportation dollars that pedestrians and bicyclists are part of the constituency that can make a claim on how those dollars are spent. And so getting money spent so they're safer for pedestrians and bicyclists is a good thing. And well, anyway, thank you very much for coming, and thank you for speaking. You're certainly welcome to stay with us and listen in on the remainder of the meeting. And I know once the town and county set up something, that we'll try to attend the meeting as well. So thank you for coming today.
I just wanted to say thank you. And the film that was sent and the pictures are actually from Eileen Friedman's Nest camera.
Okay.
And that was, if you watch the film carefully, it appears that it's the noise of the car hitting which set the camera off.
Yep.
And then you can see the rest of it flying through the view.
Well, we also got the message at our last Complete Streets meeting on February the 2nd, because the lights were flickering in town hall
Oh,
when somebody hit the power pole. So we did know about it. So
okay.
anyway, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's move on to the minutes for February 2nd. Anyone have any additions or subtractions to February 2nd minutes? I would say, Trish, that you have our meeting starting at 2:30 p.m. We really started at 3, so you might want to add that to our meeting minutes. And if not, I move that we accept the meeting minutes for February the 2nd. Looking for a second. Catherine Kuzman has seconded those minutes. All in favor of accepting the minutes of February 2nd? Any objections? Okay, we're all in on that. The next item of business is a draft comprehensive plan, a chapter in the town comp plan on mobility and transportation. And I guess I would just ask Catherine, who's been kind of coordinating this for us, to say a word or two.
We've been meeting on a pretty regular basis to discuss the progress of this, the draft chapter on transportation. And Carla and Bill are working on the safety section and the connectivity section of it. Hopefully we'll get something from them by the end of this month. And then we could get it to the larger group. But I may do something in the interim, just so I can send something to the group and see if we're going in the right direction. That's what I'd like to do. I can send what I have now and get your opinion. That's it.
Okay. Carla, would you want to add anything to Catherine's thoughts on that?
No, as we talked about at the meeting, I've got to focus more on the survey results in terms of talking about connectivity. I did get something to Catherine, but it was very vague, and I do have to continue to work on that. So
okay. Well, we're all working. We've have benefited from the
on your side of that.
Yeah. We've been looking at our survey results from our February 2020 survey of town residents during COVID. I believe it's 2020 or 2021, but which town residents gave us input on some issues connected to safety, mobility, connectivity in the town, and how often they were walking and what kinds of issues they ran into. And so we're certainly using that input to include in the transportation chapter that we're working on it. We felt like the one that was already there needed some work, and that we wanted to kind of make sure that bike and pedestrian issues were a strong focus in the plan going forward. That we do know that we're still having climate change, and that we need to start making more use of walking and bike transportation. And so and to do that, we need the safe infrastructure in place so that we aren't encouraging older adults or people sending children to school or people that want to get around the town by walking or biking, that we're not encouraging them to use unsafe roads, that, we have the healthy infrastructure in place. And yeah, it's over here. I'll give 1 second. And so that's just hearing from folks about, say, Van Antwerp Road, but we're also looking at Rosendale Road, that the school district is going to move all 7th and 8th grade students to Iroquois Middle School by 2028, and 5th and 6th grades to Van Antwerp Middle School. And so, we'd like to have more things in place. And I'll just cite 2 county roads that Van Antwerp and both Rosendale Road do not have side paths or sidewalks on them. And if we want students to be able to, say, walk to the high school, or middle schoolers to be able to get to Iroquois Middle School, that we need to have the walk paths and side paths in place for them to use that. So we're trying to focus on that. We're really looking at a lot of the roads in town. Troy Road, where it's had some accidents, we, working towns applied for a linkage study and a traffic improvement study of $4 million to do some work there. And so we're also looking at county roads. We're looking at town roads, and where there are things that need to be done to make them safer, and access to schools, that some roads need to be paved so students are not in the road with buses and cars, and that we have better crosswalks. And then, also just looking at other things are streets where, like Rosendale Road, that the sidewalk ends at Rose Hill Boulevard. And so if you're walking or you're riding and suddenly the sidewalk ends, where do you go? You're on the road, and it's a busy road. But just looking at Troy Road as an important east-west corridor, looking at Balltown as an important northwest transit, and then county roads that are collector roads that carry people around the town, that what kinds of improvements need to be made to make them work. And that's what we're working on. And we're looking at, well, what aspects of these roads are not safe? What are limitations to being able to connectivity to connect to other neighborhoods, or get to work, get to school, get to town, and try to address some of those. And to create a vision statement. So our town board, planning board, others, going down the road, have got some input in the town master plan to offer some thoughts on how we'll get there. Anyway, so we're working ahead on that. We'll be preparing a draft that we look at in Complete Streets, sharing that with Complete Streets members, and then sending along to the comp plan committee to take a look. And the comp plan committee and the town board will be having public hearings on this document when drafts have been prepared, and getting input from the public. Okay, next item of business is safety on Route 7 linkage study update. This item was put on the agenda by Laura, and I think she might have some thoughts that she wanted to add if she were here, but she's not. I do. Jim, would you be able to just summarize a little bit some of the things that they do in linkage studies, or what we'd be doing in ours for Route 7?
The linkage study for the Transportation Council. There are two things going on, right? We've applied for a grant. The town applied for a grant to get physical improvements made to Route 7. But the other is the Transportation Council that does linkage studies, where they will go out and do a planning and engineering assessment of a corridor, looking at things like speeds and crash data and how that relates to other roads of a similar nature, and then coming back with recommendations and thoughts. And consultants do those on behalf of the town, with the town, coming back with recommendations and thoughts on how that works. They'll work with a committee of town residents to work with the DOT, it's a state road, CDT and others, to essentially analyze what's going on, assess what the issues and problems are, and suggest some potential remedies for how to move forward. So that kind of links in as well with the grant town's gone after to try and do some improvements in that area as well.
Okay. Will you plug this into the one over the washing machine? Thank you. I do think the town having a little trouble maintaining power to my laptop, so I'm going to get some help on doing that. I do think that, I'm grateful that the town board, certainly is hearing the message from Complete Streets Committee and from other folks in the town that, we've had some accidents on Troy Road. We had one just recently of a young person that was struck trying to cross the road.
Sure.
And so, our town board is, I think, being attuned that, we have some safety issues. And, you know, the linkage study really looks at the whole Route 7 corridor, which if we get the state to do some things to do some safety features on Troy Road, it's an important study that, you know, we're incorporating the state that owns Troy Road in doing a study and working with them so that when they come up with suggestions that it's a matter of, yes, it's going. It's a matter of finding the money to do that. But with the other grant that really kind of focuses on Troy Road, but between St. David's Lane and Algonquin, of one of the things that we recommended is a crosswalk on Hickory so that employees at Bellevue can get safely across the road, as well as patients safely getting across the road. And this was the location of this most recent accident where a young person had to be flown to Albany Med to get treatment. And we have noted in our discussions in committee that Troy Road is, it really is a barrier for folks moving from south of Troy Road to get over to the other part of town, and that there are some push button crosswalks at the intersections, but I mean, the average speed is probably 50 miles an hour on Troy Road, and that's a high speed. So it's not an easy road to cross, and it's important that we perhaps get some medians that have a concrete median and more emphasis on crosswalks so people can get across the road. And so, you know, working on some other things that may help to calm traffic and make it a safer road for bikes to use also. And we do have sidewalks on both sides of Troy Road, so that's a positive now, positive for pedestrians. And we do have bicyclists that use them, which is certainly better than being on the road. Andrew Millspaw, who's with us, has mentioned that, you know, there may be sufficient roadway for the state to take a look at whether they could put a bike path on one or the other or both sides of the road and still have traffic lanes in place. But I guess doing the linkage studies and having the other grant work done, that if they do some physical structure improvements between Algonquin and St. David's Lane, that there may be some things that they learn there that they can apply to the rest of the road in doing safety features that will make the road safer. But it is certainly the case that our town board and our county have been talking to the state, and everybody is on board with knowing that we have some real safety issues on Route 7 and we have to address them. And we're doing these studies to get us started with doing that. And the studies will help us gather the data and see some options for traffic movement and bike and pedestrian safety that we hope to be able to implement to make the road a safer road. Okay. Anyone else want to speak on safety on Troy Road or the linkage study that the town has applied for? Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, just a question, I guess, on the grant. Do we know what the timeline is on that? And is everything done for applying? Is there anything else that needs to be done or to help, I guess, solidify the chances of getting the grant? Because it is picking up quite a bit of press, that stretch along Route 7. So I think anything we can do to preserve the momentum, if it's needed, would be beneficial.
Okay.
I don't know all of the details, Andrew, but I know the town did meet the submission deadline. So we met the deadline. I'm not sure when the decision would be made about awarding the grant. Laura's closer to that than I am. But I know Laura is a member, and Jim, you might know, it's on once a month on Wednesday. She goes to a Capital District Transportation, and that group recommended or endorsed that application, I believe, for Niskayuna. So Laura was very happy about that. So I think she feels as well positioned for that grant as we could possibly be. We're just in the waiting period.
You mentioned March, didn't you?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
They didn't.
Yeah.
We'll be making announcements.
Excellent.
Yeah, it'll be part of the UPWP, which is their work plan for the year, and they do all of the requests at
Yeah.
once, and it comes out all at once.
Okay. So it'll
Yeah,
come out
really-
at March, but it might be staged, like when it would be awarded, or,
Yeah, I mean, that's up to the transportation
Yeah,
council. Yeah, be part of it.
but we should know in March.
We could typically come out with it, yeah, depends on other things going on.
Were you able to hear that, Andrew?
I was, yes, thanks.
Okay.
That's helpful. And it seems like we might have lost Bill.
Go for it.
Good point.
Oh, sure, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Um,
He's back, he's back. They've got about-
think about how I was about to take your job, Bill. You're muted. Bill, you're muted.
Muted.
Bill, your mute is on. Your mute button is on.
Thank you. Well, I'm back. Thank you, Clark, for answering the question or saying that our grant submission was complete and sent in. But it's a good question, Andrew. We'll stay with that to make sure. I mean, if there's anything else that, we can do to strengthen our application, we'll certainly do that. And I think that's a good point. Okay. The next item we have are Grand Boulevard bike lanes. And there was a meeting February the 10th where the Grand Boulevard residents came to a meeting at Iroquois Middle School and had a chance to look at several options that were being proposed by the county for Grand Boulevard. And they're not redoing the curbing on Grand Boulevard. They're going to repave it and try to do a good job of good, solid repaving. And then they plan on striping the road. And they, make mention of they have auto traffic. They want to do something about a safe place for bikes, possibly, and a safe place for pedestrians. And at some of the discussion, they talked about options for the road, and they kind of had several. One would just be a travel lane, and then a painted bike lane, and then a narrow parking lane, which would be a travel lane for cars. Then they'd have a bike lane, and then what they say a narrow parking lane is that folks would be able to park their car possibly with one wheel a little bit close to the bike lane, and then over onto the grass or the front of their yard on the other side, which is kind of a travel lane, bike lane parking. Another option they had was a travel lane and a buffered bike lane, so there wouldn't be any parking allowed on Grand Boulevard. It would just be a car travel lane and then a buffered bike lane. So you'd have a travel lane, a white hash strip, and then a buffered bike lane. Then another is travel lane. Option C, I'd say, was a travel lane and then parking for cars with no bike lane. So that was option C. And then Art Clayman was there, who mentioned another option, which he says has been used a lot in the city, is a travel lane, then an auto parking lane, and then the bike lane is over on the other side, which is to the right of the auto parking lane, so that bikers would be separated from car travel by a car parking lane. And I guess the folks had a bit in the way of reservations about that option. And Jim Levy mentioned that, or showed us some information on Syracuse where they actually have bike lanes that are in the median, in the grassy median. So Grand Boulevard has a grassy median. It'd be possible that we had a bike lane, an asphalt bike lane that would be in the grassy median. So the road would be auto travel and maybe parking, and that would be in the median. And I guess what I'd hoped we might be able to, I think Laura requested the options from the county so that we could take a look at them and get back to the county on what we thought were, at least from the Complete Streets Committee, what we thought were positives of each option and some negatives, as there were some. And the county responded that they are working on this. They may have settled on an option, and that if they have one, that they plan to send it to our town planner, who would send it to Complete Streets to see that if we had input on the plan, that they'd be willing to consider that in coming up with their final design. But at this stage, the county's working on it. They're working on a design, and they've said they're going to share it with us. And so we'll be anxious to take a look at it. And certainly, I mean, the county, I mean, there's not money allocated to do granite curbs with this, and they are aware that the town would like to see concrete sidewalks replace the asphalt sidewalks on Grand Boulevard, because we want better and safer mobility to Hillside Elementary for students, and also to Van Antwerp Middle School. And so they're aware of that. And they, it wasn't one of the options discussed at the meeting, I don't think, but they are aware that there are folks that would like to see an asphalt path in the median that would be used for pedestrians and bicyclists. So at this stage, I guess we are going to get the plan. And I'm hopeful it's the plan that's not necessarily the official plan just yet, so that if we have concerns, and I don't know, I mean, does anyone on the committee want to say anything about the travel lane, car parking lane, and then a bike lane to the right of that? Whether that's a sensible idea or a worrisome idea, or if there are some hazards with that. I mean, that seemed to be something we thought about a little bit, but I don't know if anyone on the committee wants to speak to that, or any of the other options. Yes,
I'll just say that personally, if I was cycling, I would prefer that one the most, to have the bike lane all the way over to the side and then a buffer with the cars. I'm not sure. I was thinking about it in my head, Jim, about if I was going down the middle, and I feel like it would be confusing, you know, you'd have to really be looking to see who's turning where, but maybe.
When you're crossing with a road intersection?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a road intersection in the middle. It just seems.
No, absolutely. And, but the other issue, if we have a bike lane and car parking on the road, it doesn't matter where the cars are on the bike lane is.
Yeah.
The bike lane is going to be directly adjacent to the car. So you have an issue with what's called dooring. You're not going to have a lot of it on that road because there aren't a lot of cars there, but if someone opens the door while you're riding, you're going to hit the door. Typically you have a buffer between the bike lane and the cars. We don't have enough room.
But if you're on the outside of the road, usually it's the driver that's opening the door. So if you're on the other side.
And like I said, it's not a big issue, but it is an issue. Most bike lanes now that we're looking at, if they're not protected lanes, which means they've got something physically separating you from their car, it's a buffer between you and the car that's parked there, and even the car traveling. But this is the difficulty with retrofit. It's very tough to do some of this stuff. We're not going to be moving curbs and other things like that. It's just too expensive. But Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the county really only has money to do striping for this project, right? There isn't really money for anything else at the moment.
Right, but that doesn't mean that that maybe just striping is, I mean, for them, it may be the only option, but, you know, if we see something that, you know, the striping just by itself is going to create some hazards or something, if we see those, we should certainly convey that to them. And even if the striping is just for today, if we feel like concrete sidewalks or concrete curb and concrete sidewalk are important, or even, you know, if we decide a side path for bikes and pedestrians in the grassy median is an option. I mean, I think we're certainly here to offer input on any of those options. And but
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's the beginning, you know, conversations, which is good. They didn't even discuss, and again, there's no money for this, but they didn't even discuss the possibility of closing some of the intersections.
Yep.
So your concern about crossing would be reduced because there might be fewer of those crossings that you'd have to do if they closed a couple of the intersections, so you couldn't go through.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of, you know, possible options out there. You'd have to look and see what's there. But I think just for managing expectation purposes, Bill, I was just mentioning that really it's only a painting scheme right now and some preliminary discussions.
okay.
I was impressed though that they solicited input and invited, you know, because I don't even live on that road and I got invited. I live over by the elementary school.
I just happened to randomly find out about it.
Okay.
It was a good turnout. There were quite a few residents there.
Yeah, they sent a direct mail piece and you could go and take a survey and go to the meeting.
Yeah, their website or the handout that they had does say that you can access, I'll have to learn if it really, I tried to find it, that you can access the survey results. And so it would be nice if they, you know, sent out 1,200 or so invitations to submit input. And if, you know, 10% of those people actually did provide some, so they might have a input from 100 or 150 people or whatever. It'd be nice to see what those folks had to say. And certainly, I guess I just, you know, want to see the options and give our Complete Streets Committee a chance to provide input to the county on this, so they have the benefit of that. Certainly, they don't have to take our input, but it's nice if they have spoken to folks in the town and are willing to see what they have to say. So that's good. And you know, frankly, we're encouraged. I guess it was a two-step grant, or the two grants. One was for the road works, and they did apply for one that might have been the curbs and sidewalks and didn't get the money to do that. So they are interested in this. So we're gonna try to stay with that. And anyway, if we do get a design from them, we'll certainly share it with the committee and ask people to chip in their thoughts, and we'll share that with the county and be very grateful that they're talking to us. Okay. Anything else on Grand Boulevard?
Just one step backward, Bill, just so you know, the Niski Unit Route 7 submission to the Transportation Council did make it into the draft UPWP. I just looked online, they released it on Friday. So that study should be going forward.
What does that mean for us?
Means we got the money to do the study with the Transportation Council.
Good. Okay, good.
It was released on Friday.
Good. Okay. Oh, well, I mean, I'm really quite encouraged. I'm glad that we have applied for the money, and then you're saying the linkage study that we did get it, or is it the $4 million? That's
No,
too early.
The planning study with the
Planning
Transportation
study, okay.
Council.
Good.
In the
Well-
draft UPWP, so that's a pretty good sign that it'll be there in the final.
Yes. Well, either Catherine or Jim, do you want to say a word? I mean, about the benefits of what we'll learn from the linkage study about possibly getting more money to do actual work on Troy Road?
Well, we don't really know if we're going to get additional money. This is a planning study.
Yeah.
And out of the planning study, there'll be recommendations. I suspect that we could use that money. We could apply again for transportation alternative funds, or there's other federal funding sources as well that we could apply for. So this is just, it'll probably take a couple of years to get the results from this study. So
Okay.
it's a positive thing. And, you know, with that study, we have a better chance when we apply for capital funds. So I suspect that this is just part of the MPO's plan for moving forward to address the Route 7 problems. But no, we don't, that's really all we can say about it right now.
Okay. Okay. Okay, anything else on Grand Boulevard? Anyone else have a thought on Grand Boulevard? Okay. Let's move on to Schenectady County sidewalk for Knott Street from Baker to Lexington Parkway. The county did do the sidewalks along Knott Street, 2000, I think they've been there from 2003 forward. When they did the work, they really left a 3-block section from Keys to Baker, Baker to Garner, and Garner to Lexington Parkway, about 3 blocks where they didn't push the sidewalk along. Part of that was some neighbors had concerns, and also neighbors' concerns about they might neck their sewer system or something like that. And so they delayed that. And the town has really been requesting that the county go forward to finish that. And it is an unsafe situation in that there's a hill at the top of Knott Street there as you go really up to Baker and then Baker on down to Lexington. And it's a hazard in that pedestrians can't see the motorists and motorists can't clearly see the pedestrians. And so we've asked the county to look at it, and Laura had gotten bid specs from a couple contractors on it. They had been more money than we had available in grant money to go ahead and fund the project. And happily, Catherine Kuzman and Carla Duggal and I all went to the meeting when the county came to Niskayuna High School for one of their monthly regular county meetings, and it may have been September. And Catherine made the pitch about we need more attention on Troy Road, and that we are getting. And Carla also had a letter and comments that we need to take a look at a side path on Rosendale Road to feed to make sure that students that will eventually be using Iroquois Middle School will be able to use the get to school. And we also made mention of the 2-block segment that hasn't been finished, and Laura had the design documents, and so folks at the county asked us to submit the design documents. We gave it to them, and a couple of weeks ago, Paul Sheldon, who's the director of County Public Works, reached out to the town supervisor to make sure that town board was still supportive of getting this project done. And so they're gonna move forward and do it. They're gonna use some county money to do the section in Niskayuna, 4 houses from Baker down to Garner. And the Mayor McCarthy, has been kind enough to indicate that the city will do its portion from Garner Avenue down to Lexington. So we're going to get that segment finished. And so it's a win for Complete Streets by being tenacious and asking folks to stay with it. And so both of those entities are going to get that finished. And so it's finishes segment. So I had heard from, older adults that lived on Dean and Baker and other roads that actually walked to Ellis that really were grateful to have a sidewalk on Knott Street and to have that segment completed so they can go that direction. And with more business activity in the co-op block, there are other people that come the other direction that want to, walk to Niskuna to use the stores that are there, and they'll be appreciative of having a completed sidewalk. And that's, I don't know, just doing our job on Complete Streets Committee to keep nudging people, and it doesn't always work out, but sometimes it does. So it did in this case. So thank you to everyone on that. Planning projects, I know, ShopRite Plaza, we're still, we've provided or intend to provide input on where some crosswalks could go that would be helpful to pedestrians that use the, I guess what was ShopRite Plaza will be, if Price Chopper has purchased a building, if they're going to put a market in there, they'll benefit from that. We discussed GE Global Research, and Andrew said, well, there's a building behind GE that's on the bike path that's could use a little improvement, and it would be nice if they could do that. It's on the bike path as it runs along the Mohawk River. We have 2890 River Road, which is kind of the Balltown Road. It's behind CBS, and you've noticed that the homes are being taken down along Balltown Road behind the CVS, so that the developer, I believe, will be coming back with either some condominiums or some apartments or some plan. And we had mentioned before that, we would like to see a side path go through this project so that you would be able to get from, say, Knott Street east over to, say, the intersection of Van Antwerp and Balltown Road by maybe using the asphalt strip that runs behind WRGB and the hardware store. There's a roadway that's there's the post office in another building, and there's a roadway that goes there that serves the kinder care. And anyway, it gets over to where these apartments would be, and so that you wouldn't have to do an asphalt side path on Balltown Road, but you would possibly have a stretch where you would have you could paint a bike lane or a bike path that would get you from Knott Street east over to Van Antwerp and Balltown Road there. And then discussing in the the comp plan that, well, how would that help us? In part, making Balltown Road a possible north-south conduit for bikers and pedestrians. If it were possible to use the grassy area next to Bevis Hill Reservoir, that would get you from the intersection of Balltown Road and Van Antwerp, say, all the way over to Route 7, and then cross Route 7 at the intersection of Route 7 and Balltown, and then maybe another side path that would go on the west side all the way down to the shopping plaza where the Ingersoll home was. But it would be, you would have a transit pathway that would be bikes and pedestrians that could get you the whole way. And that way it's not perfect, but you could get on the bike path in Applause, go up East Street, William Street, take the bike path around. You've got the chip behind Craig Elementary School that serves the school, but you'd stay on the bike path. You'd come to the push button crosswalk at St. Joseph's. You'd be on Orchard Park till you got around to Knott Street East. Then you take the new link that maybe goes from Knott Street East by WRGY, by the hardware store, get you down to Balltown Road and Van Antwerp. And then if you had these other pathways that, would require the city of Schenectady and town to work together to do it, but it's part of planning and asking people to think about it. That could certainly happen. And even just getting to school, if there were a pedestrian pathway or a bike pathway that folks that come up Van Antwerp going to the high school would be able to get get over to the high school. Go ahead, Tess.
Planning board requests that they have to put that, a bike strip in as part of
Yes,
their.
they could. Yes, they could. That would make that a condition of getting the approval for the
Right,
condos.
but
And then
ask
it would,
to
it would,
make that
well, they
condition.
could do it. I mean, the developer, I don't think has come back with a new project, but that is certainly something that the town planning board could ask for to make sure that we got that pathway in there. And it would serve people trying to, even middle schoolers on the way to 8th grade at Iroquois Middle School would be able to come up and use that path to get to the side path,
Everyone thinks.
Knott Street East, and then they'd be that down to Fox Hollow and going through River Road Park, and would be able to get access to Van Antwerp or to Iroquois Middle School. So I look at it as just being bird dogs, where we see something, if we can get a link, we should ask for it. Go ahead, Tess.
They were just filling me in that it's not being developed anymore. They did not get approval for the variances they sought. So no one's currently developing it. It's at a standstill.
Right. But somebody is still doing work there because they're knocking down the homes. And so
Well, the homes are all gone, Bill.
yeah, I know the homes are all gone, but I think there was someone who had an idea. They didn't get approved this time around, but
Yeah.
it's still good to make the planning board aware of this, so that if this guy
Absolutely.
reapplies, somebody buys the property and comes back, they are already on notice that this is something that we're looking for. And just as a footnote, I would say that the link over to River Road Park from Seneca, I mean, we've asked for that for 10 years or so, and it looks like it's finally going to happen. And it's kind of the ideas that we put on our complete streets spreadsheet for projects that we want to see happen. As we see something going on, we want to make sure that we alert the planning board and the town board that, hey, here's an opportunity to make a connection, and we don't have to sell pumpkin pies to get the money to do it. You can ask a developer to put it in as part of the project. Kind of like we got the crosswalk on River Road across from Blatnick Park. The developer paid the cost to do that, but we managed to get it done. So that's a good thing. So, but thank you, Tess. Okay. Our Complete Streets goals for 2024, those were attached. I don't know if people got a chance to look at them. I have just a couple thoughts on those. They're in your packet. I don't know if you want to. Grand Boulevard, curbs and bike lane. I guess I'm just wondering, and I could do it if we want to say just a little bit more on that. I mean, to include painted bike lane. I mean, if we're have other input that we might want to make. I mean, if you're happy with it as it reads, that's fine to leave it. We do have obviously Route 7 number 1 on our priorities. That's going to stay where it is. And grant applications, which I mean, Jim's just alerted us that we've gotten one today, but we want 2 to stay. Number 4, I'd be asking Trish, push button crosswalk on Knott Street and River Road Street. We should take River Road off because that one is already done. And then on pedestrian and bike paths added to Niskuna schools, the first sentence says in planned improvements at each of, we need the word of in there, of the 8 school campuses. And then number 6, where it has Birchwood land, that land should be changed to lane and E there. And then on number 7, Cornelius Avenue side path, there was a concrete sidewalk along Cornelius Avenue between Ray Street, not Story, Ray Street and Hillside Elementary. do people feel comfortable adopting these complete street goals today, or do you need a rotation to another meeting to study them, or are people reasonably happy with this set of goals?
I mean,
Anyone?
only if we wanted to add what the privilege of the floor citizens were talking about, something about Van Antwerp and the roundabout potentially.
Okay. Are you recommending that, Tess, that we add that to our goals for 2024?
I mean, it's Van Antwerp is such a narrow street. It's a conundrum with what to do with it.
Okay. Andrew?
Nobody knows what to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would support that. I mean, we've talked about that stretch in terms of sidewalks in the past, and I think it makes sense with the push button crosswalks that are at St. Joseph's and at, on one side of the traffic circle, and there's the one by Blatnick Park on the other side of the traffic circle, and then there's coming into Van Antwerp off the traffic circle to the, the bike path at Knott Street there in Windsor. So, I mean, I think it's a key location that is worthy of attention.
Okay. Okay. So we'll hold this over to our next meeting, and we'll think of some language to include Van Antwerp Road in this. And the meeting with town and county officials also might happen in the next period. So we'd get some input on what's decided on that. But I mean, we certainly can put that in. And is there a spot test? I mean, we've sort of tried to rank things here. Do you have a spot in the list here of 1 to 11 that you want to see Van Antwerp Road in?
Number 8.
Number 8.
What's it in front of?
Okay,
Just
Rosendale
below,
Road is number 8. So
yeah, Avenue side path, but that goes to Hillside Elementary.
Okay. Oh, Rosendale, really?
Oh, sorry.
okay, well,
Down to 9.
we'll take it as moved by Tess, seconded by Andrew Millspaw, that we include Van Antwerp Road in our priorities, and we can work on where we want them to go unless someone has got a specific recommendation today. And so move and second to include Van Antwerp in our priorities. All hands, yes or no? Okay, we're unanimous in that, so we'll do some more work on that. And thanks to the neighbors from Van Antwerp Road coming in. The meeting dates, I'm hopeful that the calendar that's in the minutes are going to be suitable. I know there's still a couple folks that have conflicts with those meeting dates as part of their work, but Ben O'Shea and Jim Levy have both said don't change the schedule on my behalf. It's impossible to get a schedule where it fits for everybody, and so I guess I would like to move today that we accept this schedule as our meeting schedule for the remainder of 2024, and looking for a second on that. Second from Tess Healy. All in favor of adopting the schedule provided by Laura for this? Okay, we're unanimous on that. Thank you. Discussion items, we can do a couple of these. Complete Streets demonstration project. We had talked before about an education event where, since the push button crosswalks have now gone in across from Blatnick Park, and also on St. Joseph's Drive, that we now have what I would consider is a nice loop that you could leave Town Hall and you could ride your bike down to Orchard Park Drive. Actually, you could ride your bike all the way down Knott Street East and then Windsor Drive till you get to Blatnick Park. We could have some folks there. You would cross over the push button crosswalk at across from Blatnick Park, and then you would ride west on the bike path where you'd go up the hill at GE and then back down the hill. And when you got to the push button crosswalk at St. David's and River Road, you'd cross that space right there and then ride on St. Joseph's and Orchard Park till you got back to Knott Street East, and then you'd ride back to Town Hall, so that we'd have a bike safety loop where we could certainly do some hats and some bike education training, and would have some people at both of those crosswalks where you could push the button and go safely across a crosswalk. And we would have to have staff there to make sure that the cars on Route 7 do stop if we're going to have, especially if we had some younger folks going across. But it is a loop, and so there are some bike education. So I mean, it's not in stone. I just suggested that as something that we might do as a complete streets demonstration project. And so we want to do one in the spring. And we could also do some see if there's a bike shop somewhere that would be willing to do some bike tune-up work, or try to get some hats to give away, or set up our table with our large complete streets map and get input from residents on things that they want to see in the town plan or whatever. But that was my recommendation for a possible project, for a demonstration project. Now, if folks have another idea or something else they want to do, certainly we can discuss that. And but I'd like to think about something we could do in May before school's out or whatever. And so I'll just throw it open to any other ideas on a demonstration project. Anyone with another possible idea, or any input on this as a possible idea?
I think it sounds like a decent idea. I agree it's a decent loop.
Okay. Anyone else on this as a possibility? Okay. Well, we can give it some more thought. I know that Winnie Road is on here. I believe the town has sent some letters to Winnie Road residents. We've been trying to work on a bike connection that goes from the end of Winnie Road down to Valerie Drive, I believe is the road that's there. And so we're working on that. Hope to get that in place. The good thing is that it would, I think, turn a whole bunch of folks, make it much more accessible for folks, even in Dublin Drive and that neighborhood, to go a little ways on Route 7 to get over to Winnie Road, and then taking Valerie Drive, getting over to the Flower Hill connection down to the Mohawk Hudson bike path. So that's kind of our emphasis in doing that. We will be sending out priority letters, and we hope to set up a meeting with County Manager Roy Fluman. So projects and things like, Van Antwerp Road, other projects that we're, asking the county to do, would be an opportunity for us to speak with him face to face. And so we would collect our ideas on things that we'd be asking the county to do, and have a chance to have a face-to-face meeting with Roy Fluman. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. I did have St. Joseph and River Road crosswalk, and just like people to use it as a crosswalk and to observe our motorists generally stopping there. I mean, is this something that where maybe we need to ask the police to to take a look to make sure motorists are actually stopping if there are people that push the button, the crosswalk button. And I know from my own experience that you can use the push button crosswalks in front of the Niskuna Co-op, but motorists still don't always stop there. That our message really is still the case, that you need to be sure the cars have stopped both ways, or maybe even they've stopped and you have eye contact with the driver before you go across the crosswalk, because there's still some motorists that don't stop. And so that's absolutely the case at St. Joseph's and River Road. There's a lot of motorists that go fast there. They want to get to work at GE and Capitol. They want to get home from work. And so we still need to do some work on public education on doing that. I thought the Plum Street sidewalk would be a good thing for us to maybe put a picture in the comp plan, just to show, hey, here's the sidewalk close to a school that's functional, and this is the kind of thing that we would want to see maybe at other schools. And it's still a win for us. The town board had to come up with the money to do that. And again, a tip of the hat to the town board that we didn't get the grant for Cornelius and Birchwood Lane, but we are going to meet with the award folks to find out where our application fell short and what we might need to do to strengthen it. I mean, there's always another funding cycle coming along that, and we might even find another funding source that we could take our application and submit it. But we do want to find out where we fell short on our Climate Smart Communities grant. But again, that was a 50-50 match. So the town board had set aside $550,000 to apply to doing these sidewalks if we got the grant. And so the town board has found the money to do the sidewalk on Plum Street from Van Antwerp to the school. They set aside $550,000 to be the match on the Climate Smart Communities grant. Again, they've applied for the linkage study. They've applied for the other $4 million TIPS grant. And, you know, they are also advocates with the state and with the county to get those folks to spend grant money on projects in the town. So I think we should extend a little note of thanks to the town board for really looking out for the safety of residents in the town and being aggressive at getting money for pedestrian and bike projects. Okay. Anyone have another item that we need to discuss at today's Complete Streets meeting? Okay. Well, I do hope Laura gets back to town safely. I'd like to thank everyone for coming today and thank our neighbors on Crimson Court and Van Antwerp for coming to the meeting today. And I'll entertain a motion. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Looking for a second. Jim Levy, all in favor of adjourning for today? Unanimous. So thank you. Thank you all for coming today and chipping in your thoughts. And sorry, I had a little bumpy ride on maintaining the power to my computer, but I made it. Thank you all.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you. What is number 8?
I don't,
I might have an argument.